Good morning and welcome to the Leadership Winston-Salem October Leaders in Lunch webinar, The Workforce Shift, Collaborative Solutions for Winston-Salem's Future. For those of you who may be less familiar with Leadership Winston-Salem, we're a nonprofit organization that works with over 100 leaders each year to educate, connect, and energize them to serve and improve the community. Leaders in Lunch webinars provide a dynamic platform for alumni and community members to connect with influential leaders and gain insights on timely topics impacting Winston-Salem. These lunchtime gatherings feature engaging presentations from local professionals, public figures, and community advocates who share their expertise and experiences. Leaders in Lunch offers a casual yet informative setting to deepen understanding and inspire collective action for community improvement. At this time, I would like to turn the mic over to Abby McCall, our new Alumni Engagement Director for Leadership Winston-Salem, who will introduce our moderator for this webinar. Abby?
Hello, everyone. We're so excited you have joined us. It is a pleasure to introduce my fellow class of 2023 flagship alumni in leadership Winston-Salem, Miss Orielle Ellis Hope. She is an energized human resource professional with over 18 years of experience in HR, strategic planning, quality management, and corporate compliance. She is currently the Assistant Vice Chancellor for Human Resource Operations and serving as the Interim Chief Human Resource Officer at North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University. She received her Bachelor's of Arts degree in Sociology from Winston-Salem State University and a Master's of Science degree in Human Resources from North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University. She has served as the 2013 president of the Winston-Salem Society for Human Resource Management in various board of director roles with that organization throughout the years. She remains an active board member as the SHRM Foundation Director. In 2011, she received the President's Award for her commitment and dedication to the chapter and human resource profession. She's also a dedicated community leader and public servant. She's recognized by her contributions for awards such as Race Progress Promoters Program Business Award from the Efforts Club of New Bethel Baptist Church and inclusion in Winston-Salem State's inaugural 40 Under 40 Distinguished Alumni in 2013. As I said, she's a graduate of Leadership Winston-Salem in 2023. And she continues to actively be engaged in her community. She won in 2024 the Winston-Salem State University Alumni Achiever Award, and most recently was the 2025 Triad Business Journal HR Impact Award recipient. Without further ado, Orielle Hope is here to moderate our conversation today.
Thank you. Thank you, Abby. It is such a pleasure to be here with you all today. And again, just wanted to highlight, yes, I am a graduate of Leadership Winston-Salem class of 23, the most connected class ever. So just always like to put that out there. And also just recognition to all of my sorors of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated as also just wanted to acknowledge you all that are listening in on this call today. So for starters, I want to go ahead and introduce our panelists today. We're going to start with Julia, and she's going to introduce herself and then turn it over to the next panelist.
Good morning, or I guess it's good afternoon at this point in time. My name is Julia Jurgen. I work with the resource, and I've been with our company for 30 years. So I started my job here when I was about 7. We know how that goes and have learned lots in the time that I've been with the resource. If you're not familiar with the resource, we are a North Carolina-based staffing firm. We focus on direct hire recruiting, which is specifically what my team focuses on. We focus on the traditional staffing models as well as coaching and leadership development. Like Orielle, I'm also a Leadership Winston-Salem graduate, but my year was just a few years ago in the early 2000s under different leadership. So I know that the Leadership Winston-Salem program has been great for our community, and it was just an honor to be involved in it even that many years ago. So thanks for having me, and we're looking forward to having a conversation.
We'll turn it over to Randy.
Thanks, Orielle. I'm class of 22. Woohoo! Leadership Winston-Salem. Glad to be here. Thank you for asking. And Looking forward to our panel discussion today. Many of you may know of me through my work with Goodwill. I am the director for our professional center based here in Winston-Salem. I have clients around the country, but most here in the Triad. And my role really is to help professionals do a better job of the job hunt. And there's a lot that goes into that. But I simply run one of the many Goodwill programs, and we'll dive into that a little bit, I think, as our discussion goes on today. Like Oriel, I'm involved in a number of boards and committees. She's been my sister in crime here the last 10 or 15 years, it seems like, where we both serve on the SHRM board. I'm past president and two-time President's Award winner, and just hang out there every year. It's been a long time and a good ride with those guys, and I'll be involved with them again this coming year, hopefully. Also, Oriel and I share an interest in Pivot Ministry, and I'm on the board there, vice chair, and get involved in a number of other community entities and committees and so forth. And in my spare time, I'm a councilman in the village of Clemens and up for election again. So anyway, it keeps me occupied, busy, but I love giving it back to the community. And here's an opportunity, hopefully, to shed some light and maybe some hope that tomorrow can be a brighter day for folks. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, Randy. Dr. Harvey, let's hear about you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Crystal Harvey, and I am the department chair of the teacher education program at Forsyth Technical Community College, where we offer programs in early childhood education, teacher preparation, and we also offer the elementary education residency licensure program. I have over 20 years of experience in education. I'm a proud native of Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and I'm just excited to be here to have this conversation and see what we can do to continue to support and improve our workforce.
Awesome. Terry, we'll round it out with you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Terry Cummings. I am the Vice President of Talent and Workforce at Greater Winston-Salem, Inc. I've been here a little over 5 years, and I lead the Forsyth Works initiative that we'll talk about as we go through the panel discussion. Also an adjunct instructor at Forsyth Tech. I teach in the HR program, so a colleague of Oriel's and Randy's as we look at Winston-Salem, SHRM, and all of the HR capacity here that we have in Winston-Salem. But been here again at Greater Winston-Salem Inc. for about 5 years, and my background is human resources and workforce development of about 17 years. So come from private industry into the chamber, and hope today that I can share some of my expertise, not only in private industry, but what I've learned here at the chamber about Winston-Salem and workforce.
Awesome. Thank you all. So as you see, this is going to be an exciting panel discussion today. Terry, I'm going to start with you. I have a question for you. So how is Greater Winston-Salem Inc. supporting fostering talent retention in the region?
Well, Forsyth Works, I just mentioned. So Forsyth Works, if you're not familiar, is a workforce consortium, and it's led by Greater Winston-Salem Inc. and includes our partners such as Forsyth Tech, Goodwill of Northwest North Carolina, Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools, as well as Forsyth County government. The initiative is made possible through ARPA funding through Forsyth County. And we recently had a World of Work event that was part of it for our Career Ready Youth programming. So in saying that, from a strategy standpoint, we are starting at the foundation of the talent pipeline, which is working with our students. That partnership and that focus grows obviously into job seekers, into employers as well. And the Forsyth Works partnership really helps to streamline already existing programs and opportunities. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel with it by any means, but there's so many rich programs here in Winston-Salem and community organizations that are working to support job seekers and support employers. So really what this Forsyth Works initiative does is to promote the job seeker search. And we partner with Randy, we partner with Forsyth Tech, and we come together and we help offer coaching, resume reviews, interview prep, and also for job seekers looking to upskill, we introduce them to folks over at Forsyth Tech so they can learn about the programs and opportunities that are there for them to be able to change careers, hop back into the workforce or whatever their goals are. So looking at it from that standpoint, as well as with our employers, we have different initiatives for employers for professional development, continuing ed in that workforce development people space. We partner with Forsyth Tech and Goodwill on that as well. One thing that we have through the Forsyth Works initiative is our employer of choice credential, which we're really proud of. We actually just had a cohort last week, and 5 Forsyth County employers earn the credential, and it's basically a full day of professional development that we use to promote different HR, workforce development, continuing education to keep people up to date on trends and best practices, because we want, from a strategic standpoint, we want not only to support our job seekers, but we want to support the employers as well, because when those two entities can connect, employers to job seekers and job seekers to employers, we see more opportunity to be able to flourish, people get in the opportunities they want, and it's all about the retention piece of it that you mentioned.
So Terry, thank you for mentioning that. So you talked about trends and best practices. Julia, I want to go over to you for a minute. What transferable skills are most in demand in today's job market?
Gosh, the list could be huge. I would say a lot of them initially are going to be the soft skills. Those are the things that we don't necessarily think about right off the bat when we're a hiring manager, because we're so concerned about what education or work experience that they have. But the soft skills anymore are becoming more and more critical, I think, in success in the different roles that people have. Things like critical thinking, problem solving, the ability to communicate effectively, whether it's written or verbal communication, other skills such as technical skills, digital skills, embracing AI. I mean, even you think sometimes when you talk about technical skills, you think that that's an IT person, not necessarily. Even some of the very hourly jobs that we see in a lot of our manufacturing and distribution centers around the community, a lot of those positions are becoming very technical from the standpoint of, just to operate a machine anymore. It's not like you just go in and push a button and it starts and you do what it needs to do. I mean, they are very, very computerized and very technical anymore. Emotional intelligence is going to be extremely important. That's a lot of self-awareness about yourself. How do you bring the best possible presentation of yourself to work every single day and effectively, do your job? Just a lot of self-awareness, the ability to collaborate and just work as a team. Even if you're a very independent worker, there's still a greater team that you're involved in. So, just the ability to work with others is going to be important. And then any leadership skills that you have, whether it's something that you've honed from a volunteer group, something you've honed from your education, or other work experience, anything that you can do to kind of promote your ability to lead teams or projects or anything like that is going to be extremely transferable. So there's a lot, I think that, and that's just probably a short list, but there's a lot that are definitely transferable.
So Julia, thank you for mentioning that. When you talk about transferring skills, working with others, you mentioned education. It leads me to ask you, Dr. Harvey, how is Forsyth Tech adapting its teacher education programs to meet current workforce needs?
So one of the key things that we do is we have advisory committees. And the advisory committees are built from our partners in the workforce. So Winston-Salem Forsyth County School System, Child Care Resource Center, local child care center directors, etc. And they give us the feedback to let us know what skills and knowledge they're seeking to prepare those students to come into the field and be ready to work and teach. Additionally, we're overhauling our courses to meet those demands as well. So those are some of the things that we're doing to prepare them. Also leveraging partnerships to utilize apprenticeships. They need the experience, they need hands-on support, they need mentorship to be ready to teach in the classroom, whether it's early childhood or whether you're looking at a K-12 setting. So apprenticeships are definitely key to help them to begin to get those pre-service experiences and be prepared to meet those challenges that they are going to face in the classroom.
Thank you. So when we talk about pre-service actions and things like that, Randy, what professional transition planning resources does Goodwill offer to individuals navigating career changes?
Well, we do a whole lot actually, but I can distill it down. And we actually have T-shirts that say "I had no idea," because we do so many things that about once a week I have somebody that's, "I had no idea you guys do that stuff." So what we do is I'll call workforce development, and it takes two primary tracks, if you will. One is skills training. And so we have business advisory councils throughout our 31 county footprint where we reach out to the business community and say, hey, what are the skills? What's the skills gap? What do we need to train people on? And then we put together training classes, typically in conjunction with the local community college, in our case, Forsyth Tech, to provide instructors. The idea here is that if somebody comes to Goodwill and says, hey, I need a change, or I'm vastly underemployed, I need a career, I need something that will pay a livable wage, then this is a great outlet for them. And so we would, again, provide the class, and they come out with a certificate, whether it's truck driving, forklift operation, CNA, just a whole host of different programs. The other piece of what Goodwill does is what I do, which is helping, as I said earlier, people do a better job of the job hunt. Now, I happen to run our professional center, and so I'm dealing with a demographic that typically would have degrees and leadership experience and that sort of thing, but that's atypical for Goodwill. Typically, Goodwill is going to work with folks, let's say, with the lower level of skill or lower level of income. And our job is to help them with getting reemployed. So whether that takes the form of resumes, interview prep, job fairs, and the like, the idea here is to not only what I'll call a triage operation to get them employed, but also to stay with them after they've become employed. And frankly, many of our participants, not so much in my program, but in others, face very real barriers to employment, whether it's housing, transportation, childcare, that kind of a thing. And so, or financial issues and bad credit and so forth. And so we kind of provide a holistic approach to that job seeker. It's not just, hey, get a job, have a nice day. It's what other barriers do you face and how can we address those so that not only can you get a job, but you can keep a job. And that's a very important factor. I think a lot of folks may not be aware of that Goodwill does, other than, you can go in and donate and shop and all kinds of bargains. There you go.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. So Terry, I'm going to go back over to you for a minute. Randy talked a little bit about workforce development. What trends are you seeing in employer needs, and how are you aligning workforce development efforts?
I think it really goes back to what Julia was talking about with transferable skills and those soft skills, those essential skills that I like to call them power skills, critical thinking, communication, decision making. I think technical skills are kind of a given, in that space, but employers are really needing that employee who can communicate, who can handle conflict, right? And not get out of control. I mean, those aspects of employment get in the way of operations in your day to day if you are not on top of them and can't handle them in a productive manner. So that's really what we're seeing, and what we're doing, recognizing that. Through Forsyth Works is we have a credential called the Forsyth Works Career Ready Credential. And it's basically 8 to 10 hours of professional development, but it's more work ready and employability skills. And we go through communication in the workplace, conflict management, professionalism, and discovering yourself, your personal brand, how you're showing up in the workplace, right? Because that means so much to not only you, but the people that you're working with and around you. So recognizing that, and our credential is great for job seekers as well as those just seeking to get into promotions, climb the ladder, right? They may need to tweak those communication skills and build in that area. So we're trying to really focus on anyone, whether it's the job seeker or someone who's already employed and just want to grow in their careers, to really hone in on these skills, because our partners at Forsyth Tech, Goodwill, they've got the technical part of it covered, right? And that's why we're in this together. But the essential skills with the communication and just those soft skills is really key, and that's what we hear more and more and more.
Wow. Okay. So that leads me to ask you, Julie, my next question. What role does direct hire play in bridging workforce gaps in Winston-Salem?
I mean, I think basically from the direct hire standpoint, and I don't know that we have to limit it to direct hire. I think you can also talk about the staffing, traditional staffing models too. I mean, we're consultants to employers, we're consultants to candidates, really helping to educate the employers, what the market's like out there for candidates. We know that there's some black holes for specific skilled jobs. And that's probably not going away anytime soon, but how can you look at what's another alternative that potentially talking about, skill mismatches, hard to fill roles, just overall talking about, their expectations for salaries many times. And you'd be surprised at how many times I talk to candidates about this too, where the job description says that they're looking for an entry-level person. It has an entry-level salary. And then you look in the job description and it says they're looking for 3 to 5 years of experience. Those two things do not align. Or 3 things. And so, just really helping to share with employers, what the big picture really looks like. But then on the same side, also helping the candidates understand some of that too. So when somebody comes to me, like let's say I talk to a lot of recent college graduates that are engineers, and many times they're asking for $85,000 to $90,000. They may or may not have had any kind of internship or co-op experience or anything like that. I'm not saying that they're not capable of landing a job with that particular salary range, but also, the job market in Winston-Salem is going to be different from Atlanta, from Charlotte, from Los Angeles, from New York. And so what you can get in one market may or may not be in another market. So really just understanding, how flexible potentially can you be to be able to get an opportunity in an industry where you may or may not have experience. Or just because you've lived in one place doesn't mean it's going to pay something in the next. I think that we help employers clarify just job requirements and understanding what are the definite must-haves, what are the things that we can live with. And then really also helping to flush out some of those soft skills, what's going to be important, because again, there are a lot of people out there that are very capable of doing lots of different types of jobs. Just sometimes employers have this very strict mindset of they have to check off all these bullet points. And, then they limit themselves to a whole host of candidates that could really be a great match for their company. So, when we go out there, we're not just finding resumes. We're not waiting for people to come to us. We're doing a lot of sourcing in a variety of different ways. It could be through social media, the traditional ones. It could be through Indeed, LinkedIn, Monster Career Builder. Lots of referrals, lots of networking. It's not uncommon for me multiple times a day to get a referral from somebody else. Randy says, "Hey, I've got this person I've been talking to. Can you see if you can help them?" And sometimes helping them, I may or may not be able to get them a job. My goal is to help them in some way.
Right.
And it could be some feedback on their resume. It could be some feedback on their LinkedIn. You'd be shocked at how many people are looking for a job and either one, don't have a LinkedIn profile, or what is on there is not up to date or accurate or anywhere close. So that sort of leads me into another thing about just making sure that, people are really, on top of, from a candidate standpoint, expressing what they want to do and what they're open to do. So, there's a lot of ways we can help.
So I like that. And the other thing that you pointed out is kind of collaboration. So the resource works with the Goodwill on certain things. And I know many of us on this call, if there's a need or want or something, we do have a network that we can go to kind of collaborate on some of these issues as well. So as I look at big picture, skill jobs, experience, it leads me back over to you, Dr. Harvey. What partnerships are helping to prepare students for careers in education and beyond?
So one of our partnerships that we have is with Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools. So they are investing in a Grow Your Own program where they're supporting teacher assistants who desire to become licensed teachers to return to school. So we work with them directly, provide strategic advising and support as well as partnering with Salem College for them to be able to transfer and complete their bachelor's degree and earn their teaching license. So we look at it from that angle. So we'll work with them while they're here and supporting them for the transfer process to continue to move forward to reach that ultimate goal of them becoming a licensed teacher. To teach in the public school. We also have a grant that we just received from the North Carolina Division of Child Development and Early Education, where we will be offering early childhood academies for free for them to be prepared to enter into the classroom once they complete our 4-week program, which is very, very essential from what I think Randy had just mentioned about financial barriers to gaining education and training to be prepared for the workforce. So that is going to be something that'll be very essential to support our child care community.
Definitely. Thank you for that. So Randy, question for you.
Mhm.
What success stories can you share that highlight effective workforce reintegration?
Yeah, so obviously we're involved with a lot of different demographics, a lot of folks that do have barriers to employment. And I actually, on my other screen here, I have an outline of a success story that we shared recently at our annual recognition banquet. And of course, I'll leave the names out, but in a nutshell, we had a participant that had several barriers, criminal background, also having been hospitalized, homeless, and really was at ground zero as far as where do I go, what do I do, how can I gain employment, housing, my health. And so all this kind of combines together. And there's a partnership that we have with Second Harvest Food Bank and Forsyth Tech for a distribution and logistics class. So then it becomes chicken and the egg. How do you get a job if you don't have housing? How do you need housing to be able to survive? And so after she'd been this participant had been hospitalized, she came out, but she needed housing. And in order to have employment to qualify, she needed that for the housing options. So what we did, we worked with her and put her in what we call our EDGE program, where she can gain work experience through Goodwill. And also the class, this EDGE that she is involved with could work around the hours that she was taking classes at Second Harvest Food Bank. So fast forward, Goodwill helped her with a down payment for housing. She went on to complete the class with Second Harvest. They hired her full-time in the warehouse and logistics department. They love her. And now she has a full-time career and reliable housing. And so with Goodwill, it's not so much a hand out, but a hand up. That's just one example. And I deal with professionals on a daily basis. And you might think, well, they have it all together and everything's hunky-dory. Well, no, it isn't. Just because you have a degree doesn't mean that the red carpet is waiting for you your entire life. And they have barriers. And let's face it, if you're making 80 grand, you're spending 90, and you lose your job. Now you've got 2 kids in college and a mortgage. And so again, everybody has challenges. And our job with Goodwill is to identify those, try our best to work with them to help them get through it, not a handout, like I said. But the end game is for them to have a fulfilling career and to have that confidence based on employment and self-sustainability.
Wow, wow, wow. So I see that we have a hand raised too. So we'll come back to that question in just a moment because we do want to capture audience questions. But when we think about success stories, it leads me to think about a wonderful event that was hosted earlier in the year by in Winston-Salem. And so Terry, I'm coming back to you for a minute. What were the key takeaways from the recent World to Work event, and how do they inform the workforce strategy?
So the 3rd annual World at Work event was actually last week. We're still recovering from it, I will say. It welcomed all Winston-Salem, Forsyth County Schools 10th graders. So some people ask why 10th graders? By law, students have to create a career development plan in the 8th grade. In the 10th grade, they revised that plan. So getting in front of the students in the 10th grade, allowing them to connect to employers, higher ed, and really see what's out there is really intricate in them being able to register for classes for 11th and 12th grade. So all the 10th graders came last week to the Joel. We had about 80 employers there. Higher ed was there. Forsyth Tech was heavily represented their programs. And it was a great event. Students were able to really go through, and what the event does is highlight career pathways. So they were able to talk to teachers and programs there within Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools. They were able to talk to higher ed to find out what training and education opportunities are available after high school. And then they were able to connect it to the actual employer and learn what industries and jobs and companies are here in Forsyth County that they actually have opportunities with. So we look at that event as a collaboration strategy, really trying to connect those students who are at the foundation of the talent pipeline to different opportunities, whether it's training, whether it is those actual job opportunities, and get them connected, because getting them connected now makes a huge difference in retaining them in the county and being able to put them into in-demand industries and in-demand jobs. So again, we look at that as a collaboration strategy amongst all our partners. Obviously, everyone on the call here today, our panelists were involved in that. Their organizations were, and it was a wonderful event to connect students to things they just honestly had no clue existed. So it's really that experiential learning field trip that they have that's really meaningful.
So, Terry, one question for you. Is this an annual event?
It is an annual event. This is our third annual event, and yeah, we're proud of it. And it's pretty large. It keeps growing every year. We went from 60, 65 employers to this year 80. So we continue to grow. We have gotten that momentum behind us these first couple of years to get the name out there and so people actually recognize the event and what it's for.
Awesome. And so to all of our viewers out here today, just a tip for you. If you have questions for us, please put them in the Q&A section of this Zoom, and we will ask those questions. There'll also be a time towards the end of this webinar where we can go ahead and answer some questions for you too. We'll go ahead and put those in the chat, and we'll get those responded to. So let's see, we've talked about a lot of things. We've talked about collaboration, partnerships, transferable skills. Let's talk about, how do you assess and build soft skills in job seekers? Randy, I'm going to go to you for that question.
Yeah, so Forsyth Tech comes to mind for one. That's where we've had ongoing kind of back and forth about putting together some more, I'll call it more formal classes. And so I'm not sure the exact status on that. I do know that we've had those talks. Now, I can speak for me with my program, and I deal pretty heavily with soft skills. Again, just because you have a degree doesn't necessarily mean you're a very good communicator. We'll leave it at that. And so whether in the past we've held resource fairs and mock interviews and so forth to really try to assess and correct wherever appropriate. And I've got to think that other programs within Goodwill do the very same thing. It's just everything is a one-off as opposed to what I call more of a formal class. And again, we don't know what we don't know. Part of our role with Goodwill is to make people aware of holes in their game, if you will, and ways that perhaps they can work through those. But again, it's a process.
Good deal. So I'm going to pose this question to all of the panelists. The first question I have for you is, what collaborative strategies are proving most effective in addressing workforce disruption in Winston-Salem?
I'll chime in on that one. I think recognizing that we can't do it alone, and with us, it's the Forsyth Works initiative that brings together so many different organizations to the table to see what we're doing, to see where the gaps are, to see where we need to fill that in. And I think recognizing, hey, we've got to work at this together, and we can move the needle by doing so is really intricate in the process.
Okay. Anyone else want to add to that?
I'll take a quick swing at it. Is going back to what I said a moment ago. We don't know what we don't know. And part of our role, my role, I've not met Dr. Harvey before, but certainly Julia and Terry and you, Oriel, and you've got me on speed dial, because I reach out to people. I've built enough of a network in the area that I can sit across from a participant, and after talking to them for a little bit, get a sense for, okay, you need to talk to these people. These people are I may not have the answer to everything, but I can help get you to the people who can address what you need. And I think that's, again, Terry and I are playing the same sandbox here with trying to help folks. It's just knowing the community, and whether it's a nonprofit, if you've got barriers, again, housing and so forth, or hey, you know what? I need to go back and get take another class. Maybe it's for Scythe Tech, maybe it's through Goodwill, but just knowing what those resources are, and it provides hope. And that's a big thing that a lot of folks right now are struggling with, is seeing the end game here. They just feel like they're lost, and having resources like ours, I think, is just a godsend for these guys, because it gives them hope. It gives them hope and something they can pursue.
So in thinking about that, and I want to go to a question that's in the chat, but I have one more for the panelists. How can organizations better prepare for succession planning to ensure continuity?
I think one of the things that they can do is just create continuous opportunities for learning and development in order to retain their own employees, and then kind of promote from within, and then also identify sort of how they'll backfill those and kind of continue to keep people from leaving. I mean, everybody wants to be better at their job for sure. And just partnering with, other groups, Randy, our group does leadership training and development. Randy's group does that. I'm sure Terry's probably does. I mean, there's lots of ways that, groups can come in if you don't have someone internal to be able to help lead people and lift them up to their highest and best potential, for sure. Just because they're your best producer doesn't mean that they're your best leader by any means. And then just partnering with, if you're looking for someone to fill a gap, partnering with other resources to be able to help you find, people that can join your company, that fit in with the culture, fit in with the soft skills and things that you're trying to, bring in and foster. There's lots of different ways to partner, for sure.
So, it made me think of a question, and Dr. Harvey, this one is for you. What challenges, when we think about the Winston-Salem Forsyth County school system right now, what challenges are educators facing in workforce transitions, and how can we support them?
I'll just reiterate that the financial barrier and access to education and skills continues to be a challenge. Larger classroom sizes. So any kind of support, whether we're going into volunteer time, especially when you're looking at challenges with the budget, etc. That's a real issue. So what can we do? We can get in and volunteer. That's a way to go in and help to support those students and to support those teachers as well. Also being able to support making contributions to the classroom, to support those children and families that may not be able to purchase classroom supplies, etc. So those are just some of the things that are free that we can offer to those teachers and to the educators to help to support them through any type of transition that they have.
Awesome. So I'm going to pose a few questions that I'm getting in the chat for our panelists. So the first one that I want to ask is, what programs or steps are being taken to help retain more of the massive mind share we have in the area through our universities, colleges? And then we have so many wonderful, high quality minds, and they tend to leave to get employed.
I guess I'll take a swing at that. And I think back to when I was many years ago, right out of college or high school, one of the first things I wanted to do was get out of town. I think that's just normal. I just think it's normal for many folks to want to do that. And that's, I don't mean to be flippant about it. That's reality. Think about ourselves. Where you grew up, is that where you live today? If you went to college? Probably not, for most of us. But a lot of it goes back to opportunities, but also quality of life. And is this a place, again, if you're talking about young folks, do they have Do they feel safe? Are there activities that would appeal to them? And so then that goes back to, again, the government officials and those that help to ensure that we have a quality of life that is suitable, not just for folks, let's say, at my point in life, but also those that are recent grads. Are there things that I see you nodding your head? Yeah. Do we have the outlet for those folks? And if not, what are we going to do about it?
Okay. Another question we have is, will there be a local job fair targeted at mid to senior level professionals?
After the World of Work, I'll chime in on this, but after the World of Work, we did have a community career fair, so it was really geared toward all levels. And that's how I typically see a lot of the career fairs in Forsyth County and the Triad area. They're just more general in that sense. So I think just kind of doing your research on the front end to see what employers are going to be involved, and can be helpful for that candidate who's or applicant who's out there looking for a new opportunity, and strategically just finding those career fairs, and other opportunities too, to connect with employers, networking opportunities even, especially from a mid-career standpoint. You really want to look at it not even from a career fair, but like what opportunities are there to get out in the area. We have networking opportunities here. We actually have one coming up at the beginning of December here at the Chamber, Greater Winston-Salem Inc. And I'll be glad to put some of that information in the chat or redirect you to our website for that. But I think that's a great opportunity to get around other professionals.
Yeah, I agree.
And every day is a career fair in our world. So hit us up. We're happy to talk, whether it's the resource or another one, because, lots of recruiters work on lots of different types of roles and jobs. So don't be afraid to reach out. Some of them will talk to you. Some of them might not, but we will.
Yes. So Julia, since you're up right now, there is a question for you in the chat. Are the trainings that the resource offers to organizations free or fee-based?
There's some of both. It really just kind of depends on what you're looking for. We definitely do our share of freebies, some with small groups, some with individuals. We have some ongoing programs, and if you want to reach out to me directly, I'm happy to share some more information about that and connect you with my team that specifically focuses on that side of things.
Good deal.
Or yeah, if I could double back on something about the job fairs. Again, I deal with professionals, and a question I get a lot is, well, should I bother going because they just don't have jobs that I want to do?
Yeah.
And what I tell them is this. I said the more prevalent jobs are at the lower end of the wage scale. And very often when there is a job fair, the employer has a lot or more of those, what I'll call lower level jobs available. They don't have a director level. They don't have necessarily those types of jobs in mind when they go to these job fairs. But what I tell clients is go there, make a connection with the employer or the recruiter, follow up on LinkedIn, do your due diligence on a company, because they may have a future opening. Now you've established a tie there. And you know what? You never know who you're going to run into when you go to a job fair. The guy next to you in line could be at a company you want to go to work for, and they may know somebody. So I tell people it's a no until you ask. You might as well go. The worst thing that you can do is maybe make some connections. But you know what? They could lead to something. But if you sit home, it's going to be no. So you might as well go. And that's what I would tell folks too. Don't be discouraged. Just keep going. Keep showing up.
Great. That's great advice. And then also in the interim, in the transition, just remember to continue to build your competency and your skills. That's the one thing I'll add. You all know this is my thing too. So it's weird being on the moderator side of things, but this is all such good advice, and we definitely need for the community to hear this. The other thing is, we had a question about resumes. Do folks still bring physical copies of resumes to job fairs?
Most of the ones that I've attended, they have.
Sure.
Okay.
But generally, they also follow up to me with resumes via email or some sort of method.
Yeah. I think it doesn't hurt. And I love going back to what Randy said about, what's the worst thing that can happen? You'll build a network, you meet people. A lot of things just happen kind of wandering around and saying hello and communicating to folks. So that's also really good as well. I'm just trying to check to make sure I did not miss any questions in the chat. And while I'm looking for that, I do have one more question for the panelists. What role does housing play in workforce stability, and how should it be addressed in future conversations?
I'll chime in for that one. Housing is very important because obviously people live in a community, they want to be able to work in that community, so housing is key to making sure our commute times are shorter, that we're just, again, more interconnected, whether it is building that professional network, around your area to getting to work that day. And whatnot. So I think that housing plays a key role in it, and those conversations are being had. How we can better support those who are in need of housing and what that looks like here in Forsyth County.
Right. Wow, this is all good stuff. We've just had wonderful conversations today. I just want to wait just a few more minutes just to see if anybody has any more questions for our panelists today. And if not, I am going to turn it back over to Abby for some closing remarks. Randy, did you want to give us some more parting information? Are you muted, Randy? I can't hear you.
I'm not now.
Yes.
There we go. And it deals with resumes. We always say customize the resume to the job that's available. And the pushback I get is, okay, I go to a job fair, and do I need to have 20 different resumes? The answer is no. The resume is something for the recruiter to take and maybe make a handwritten note on, okay? And then you can follow up. If there is a specific job, then customize the resume. But at least it gives the recruiter something to hold on to afterward, with maybe a note that says, hey, great personality, or something on there that will trigger them to want to keep you on their radar afterward. Don't be discouraged and say, well, I've got to have 20 resumes. No, just go get it started and get the momentum going.
Mm-hmm. We had another question come through the chat, and I want to be sure I'm getting this correct, but it says, is there a career readiness for companies? That is the direct question that came to us.
I'll chime in on that one as well. And I think that goes back, I mentioned before, our employer of choice credential, which is fairly new. We just had our second cohort, and I look at that as professional development for employers related to the people, HR aspect, that workforce development aspect. And we're going to do those about 2 to 3 times a year. We usually knock it out in a day. And we have different guest speakers come in to talk about generations in the workforce, people-centered policies, benefits, talent acquisition in terms of fair chance hiring and building talent pipelines, as well as skill-based hiring. Those are our main topics that we touch on, but it's really great for employers to come in, and it's at no cost. You just have to sign up and register, when there's a cohort, but it's a great aspect of professional development. Is value gained from it, and then at the end, the employer gets a digital badge that they can use on their websites and their email signatures that says, hey, we're Forsyth Works employer of choice. We went through this program. We are committed to creating a thriving workplace. And so I think that's one thing I can say we can do and offer through Forsyth Works and Greater Winston-Salem, Inc.
Awesome. Does any of our wait a minute, I think I see another question. This is great. So someone said, I love the connection. How can I get involved in Leadership Winston-Salem? That's a great question. Abby, would you like to answer that, or would you like one of us wonderful alums to answer that for you? But nope, you're on screen, so you go ahead and answer.
Yes, I can chime in. So we have 2 different programs that we run at Leadership Winston-Salem. We have our flagship program, which many of the folks on the call, our panelists and moderator, has gone through, and myself. Recruitment starts in February and March. There is an application process, and you can be nominated by members of your community. You definitely want to connect with us on our website and stay tuned for that, and social media, because we'll start posting here in a few months, February and March, about when applications are open and when they'll close for flagship. If you're currently employed, you also want to start to have conversations with your employer about what that may look like. And then we also have an insight program which is more geared towards C-suite executives in Winston-Salem, bringing them together and just spotlighting what is going on in our community and what's happening, both flagship and insight spotlight what's happening in the community. And as you can tell, a lot of the panelists here today, and Oriel, our moderator, myself, we've got lots of community work. We've been in the community engaged, and even before going through Leadership Winston-Salem programs, it just brings a new spotlight and perspective to the community and gets a lot of diverse folks together to learn and grow and educate and connect with each other. So highly recommend checking out our website, leadershipws.org, and around February and March to learn about the application process there.
Thank you, Abby. We have another question in the chat. I'd love to hear your thoughts on how wellness initiatives like mental health support, stress management, and flexible work environments can play a role in helping employees stay resilient and engaged during those transitions. That's a good one.
I can definitely talk a little bit about the flexible work environments. Even ourselves, we've made things a bit more flexible for our employees. Some have been able to work from home on certain days of the week. Some may work from home fully. I have one employee that works and lives in Raleigh. So, to do our job, you don't have to physically be here all day, every day. Before COVID, we probably would have said we preferred you to be here, but after COVID made us realize that, we have the technology and the ability to do it. And so if people are being successful, then let them do that. I think that too, when we're talking about the whole housing situation, sometimes people can't afford housing in the areas where they may work. So if people may have to move, and then it creates a longer commute. So if you allow for some flexible work options from that standpoint too, then that also helps with the burnout, and then probably some of the mental health issues, and then feeling like you're not able to split your time between your family or the other things that you need to do. So, whenever possible, I think really taking a hard look at flexible work environments is definitely positive for everyone. It may not work in every situation, and every employee is not as successful working flexibly, but why not give it a try to see what can happen.
Right. And does anyone want to touch on wellness initiatives or maybe EAP programs that your company may have? And then I have one more question in the chat.
I think companies, typically lean on their EAP, and I think it's safe to say that not all EAPs are created equal. Some are going to have a little bit more benefits, involved than others in that program. So I really think, from an HR standpoint, it kind of falls back on your HR professionals to really be clued in on this and have those connections, especially when we talk about mental health and, what benefits the company is offering, what partnerships are available in the community to possibly help make even broader connections to wellness and mental health programs and services. So I would say, just really speaking to that piece of it, for leadership and human resources within organizations to, be aware that this is a real need. It's affecting their workforce, the people in it, the productivity, and at the end of the day, the bottom line. So really important from a strategic standpoint, I think, to tap into what all that means for that organization.
Yeah, it's a retention tool as well, and I think we all realize that compensation takes more forms than just the hourly wage or the salary, and so showing in EAP, employment assistance program, employee assistance program, can be a retention tool and a way to recruit as well. Again, to Terry's point, I think mental health has taken a larger role in how we look at our greatest asset, our labor force.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we only have time for one more question. And so the last question that I will read from the chat is, what do you all think about mentorship for new leaders or those wanting to become leaders?
I think mentorship is very important, and I think it also goes back to the question about succession plans and offering opportunities for shared leadership within your team. Good leaders grow other leaders, and good leaders cannot do it all by themselves. You have to delegate and provide opportunities for your team to continue to build and grow and develop those skills. So I definitely think mentorship to help current leaders and to support those who are aspiring leaders, I think that is very vital and important.
Absolutely.
I don't think it
Okay.
always comes from internal either. I mean, if I look back on my career, I have lots of people that I could credit for. They might have not known they were my mentor, but they were. And their model and the way that they led and communicated and treated others was really important to me. So they were effective in my development. So it doesn't always have to come inside. And then there are obviously other programs that sometimes involve allowing for one-on-one mentorship, coaching, and that sort of thing that, you know, places like, you know, Randy does it, we do it. It sounds like some of you other guys do it as well too. So don't be afraid to ask for help and say, hey, does anybody know anything about this? And we'll be able to all kind of chime in on that.
Hey,
Right.
real quick, Oriel, I've been asked what's my biggest regret in my career. And my biggest regret is not taking advantage of mentors. I always felt like, hey, I'm a dude, I can do it myself. I've got it handled. And as I look back, I wonder what if I had sought that out, not only sought it out, but actually paid attention and implemented. Now that's a whole other topic. But yeah, don't feel like you have to go it alone. And there are people out there like us on the panel that want to be helpful and have the experience and the desire to do it. So don't be afraid to reach out.
Thank you. Abby, take it away. You are on mute.
Thank you, Oriel. I really appreciate you all coming together for this enlightening conversation. My sincere thanks to Oriel for moderating this discussion, and to our panelists, Terry Cummings, Julia Jurgen, Dr. Crystal Harvey, and Randy Wooden for sharing their insights with us. We appreciate your partnership and support of Leadership Winston-Salem. So if you enjoyed today's discussion and want to continue the conversation, we talked networking is big. Leadership Winston-Salem has a networking opportunity this evening from 5 to 8 p.m. It's called Wind Down Wednesday. We do it once a month. You don't have to be an alum or part of one of our programs to attend. You can be a community member. Today's event will be over at East of Texas. We also do a community coffee every second Friday of the month, and you can see those details on our website. And the website is in the chat, leadershipws.org. Additionally, I want to spotlight some other great initiatives happening in the workforce of Winston-Salem. Tomorrow is the Women in Manufacturing event at Forsyth Tech's main campus. So if you're interested in manufacturing and want to learn more how women are driving change, building inclusive workplaces, and reshaping the workforce of manufacturing, that link is in the chat. And then another initiative that was just announced rather recently is the Future Ready Workforce Alliance between Forsyth Tech and Reynolds America. It's designed to help close the skill gap, prepare workers for in-demand jobs, and strengthen the economies. Again, that link is in the chat if you're interested in learning more. So as you heard today, I'm so inspired that we have so many partnerships and collaborations happening in Winston-Salem, and really youth apprenticeships and internships to start that talent pipeline young within our school systems. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please save the date for January 29th, 2026. We will be hosting an in-person community conversation on affordable housing and how that ties into what we talked about today with workforce development. Breakfast will be included, so follow us on social media and stay connected to learn more about that. And we will have future Leaders in Lunch programs this spring. Just a quick reminder, we are a nonprofit organization that relies heavily on support of individual donors and corporate sponsorships. So if you feel so called to make a donation, we would greatly appreciate it. That link has been put in the chat, so you can donate to Leadership Winston-Salem. Many thanks for coming on the webinar today and joining us. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Thank you.